There's this one Tesla signal that would absolutely put a bottom in the stock and would cause a 10 to 20% move in a single day. If this happened, the implications would not be well understood until months later. But in order to understand this catalyst, we need to shift the way in which we think about Tesla stock. Most of the so-called Tesla experts in YouTube and Twitter are still talking about fundamental reasons for why Tesla is down. They'll point to macro factors such as interest rates, they'll point to falling demand in China, they'll even point to the absence of Elon in the CEO role for Tesla. But those things pale in comparison to the real reason why Tesla is down 70% from the all-time high in November last year. Now, what happened at the end of last year that caused the beginning of the Tesla crash? Do you guys remember this Twitter poll? Yeah, Elon started dumping 2 days after that. But that was not the end, of course. After that, Elon has been selling non-stop. The guy just can't help himself. If a holder's hands are made of diamond, Elon's hands are made of soap. Which leads me to the real reason why Tesla is down in its biggest drawdown ever. This chart right here is the share buyback ratio, which represents dilution to shareholders as a percentage of shares outstanding. Think about it as the ability for insiders to dump on normal retail investors. Now, in reality, this graph is completely wrong. If you take into account Elon sales, the graph looks a little bit more like this. And that, my friends, is the real reason why Tesla is down so much this year. It goes without saying that for any bottoming process to happen, this needs to be fixed. Now, the ultimate buying signal is something that fixes both the Stockholm dilution and Elon's float dilution as well. And there's only one thing that fixes both things at the same time: a share buyback. A buyback fixes employee dilution because it reduces the amount of shares and simultaneously signals to the market that Elon's done selling. But here's a big problem. All the big players already know this. So by the time the share buyback is announced, the stock will not even be close to a bottom. It's gonna be so high that most people will have already missed it. It's gonna be way too late. Which means that the only way to take advantage of this is to try to predict it before the hedge funds do. But how? Well, unless you're part of the Tesla board, you can't directly know, but there's ways around it. We know Elon has mostly sold Tesla stock in order to save Twitter. So Twitter cash flows are, in a sense, a pre-indicator for when Elon stops selling. And Elon done selling is a pre-indicator for when the Tesla buyback is announced. That's why Tesla investors talk about Twitter non-stop. Now, there's 2 pieces of information that came out today that are the key to understanding when Elon's gonna start dumping. Yesterday on a Twitter space, George Hotz asked Elon Musk, "What's a runaway?" Then silence. Some idiot jumps in to fill the silence with some garbage question. I mean, come on, dude. Twitter was tracking to spend $5 billion next year, says Elon. Also because of the depth of the transaction, $1.5 billion in debt servicing required, with revenue tracking to $3 billion. So that's like a negative cash flow situation of negative $3 billion next year. Not good. And that's why I spent the last 5 weeks cutting costs like crazy. I now think that Twitter will in fact be okay next year. Roughly cash flow even, Elon says, but it'll be difficult. And if this were 100% true, the stock would already be jumping. But institutions no longer believe anything Elon says, with good reason. So until they can for sure verify that Twitter is actually going towards breaking even in terms of cash flow, there's no bottom in the stock. The second piece of information that came out is Elon's actually approaching Twitter investors for additional funding to avoid future sales of Tesla stock, according to CNBC. And this is how big players are planning to verify that Twitter is actually going to break even. For Elon to raise this round, he's gonna have to provide some sort of income statement or some cash flow statement for the possible Twitter investors, and hedge funds are gonna jump on that, and the word is obviously gonna go around and people are gonna start buying the stock if that claim is true. But as a retail investor, you don't have visibility into any of those financial statements. So how do you know that this is starting to happen? Look for outperformances for Tesla stock, especially compared with the Nasdaq. You don't even need big moves. If you multiply Tesla's performance by the beta and then you compare with the Nasdaq performance that day, if it's bigger, and this happens for multiple trade sessions, that is the ultimate buying signal. And it will mean that we have indeed reached the bottom, because then the market's gonna start believing Elon's claim that Twitter's actually cash flow break even. So no more Tesla shares are required. Another nugget that we found out today, and this is gonna be the golden goose. So if you break down the negative 3.5 cash flow that Twitter is running at right now, and then you take into account the 1 billion they have in the bank, they have a run rate until April. But what happened a couple of weeks ago? Elon actually dumped $3.6 billion in Tesla stock. So this should last them for a whole year. And if Elon says this is gonna take them next year to actually break even, that means probably Elon's done selling already. As I was editing this video, Elon also said on another space that he's actually done selling Tesla stock until 2025. Now, whether people are gonna believe that tomorrow or in the next couple of months or not, that is still up to debate, and we'll find out, I guess, in the next trading session. This is a good sign. You know, if we're gonna bottom, Elon has to stop selling. So we'll see if actually hedge funds believe what he's saying right now. So my points are still all valid. We still need to shut all of this dilution by Elon and by insiders. But anyway, if you enjoyed this kind of video, please consider subscribing, and I'll see you next time.